Raider Nation, we have an update from the owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, Mark Davis. He has spoken about Derek Carr in an interview with the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and Derek Carr coincidentally had the publication of a podcast episode with Harvester Sports. His family creates that podcast, and Derek Carr had an hour-long interview talking about all kinds of topics from his time with the Raiders, part of the fallout, to joining the Saints and what he's optimistic about and what he's hoping will happen in the future. But the key thing here for us is what happened with regards to the Raiders and the fact that Mark Davis came out of nowhere and had something to say about DC. And we're going to talk about how these two comments show that these guys, Mark Davis and Derek Carr, may connect in the future. We know the Raiders have moved on now. We know Josh McDaniels and Derek Carr, for whatever reason, it did not work out. And what's actually pretty funny is you had Peter King of NBC recently talk about the fact that when he was at training camp with the Raiders, he just thought they were clicking. He thought Josh McDaniels and Derek Carr were just finishing each other's sentences.
I sat in on a 45-minute meeting with Josh McDaniels and Derek Carr, and to say they were symphonically one would be an understatement. You could just tell they were finishing each other's sentences.
And so we were shocked to see it not work out. And there's been a lot of theories out there as to why it did not work out. And there's been some that I've even put forward on this channel. But the past is the past, and the Raiders are now moving on with Jimmy Garoppolo. They're going cheaper at quarterback, regardless of what you think about Jimmy Garoppolo. They are still saving money on an annual basis by downgrading at quarterback, in my opinion. Sorry, Jimmy. And they also have an opportunity to draft a quarterback with that number 7 overall pick, and there is plenty to choose from this year. And Derek Carr is off with the Saints on that 3-year contract. $70 million of it is fully guaranteed, and he's with the team that has a lot of pieces around him, and the offensive coordinator is supposed to give him full control, so the Raiders are going to be able to do things their way, and Derek Carr is going to be able to do things his way in 2023. And we've wondered and we've speculated that maybe Derek Carr and Josh McDaniels, or Derek Carr and the Raiders, do not get along. We've seen players like Darren Waller also sort of have a fallout with Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels was apparently not invited to Darren Waller's wedding and obviously traded away from the Raiders to the New York Giants. And on top of that, Josh McDaniels did not have the greatest review on his NFLPA report card. Training staff was Josh McDaniels' lowest category, and there was a specific note that players feel like he keeps them for long hours and doesn't listen to them. And he even had Josh McDaniels get asked about this NFLPA report card today, and wow, this reporter just wouldn't stop.
The team report cards that the NFLPA put out, they didn't mention every coaching staff, but select coaching staffs, the really good ones and the really poorly rated ones, they mentioned, and yours was mentioned as not using players' times efficiently, and I think it said they felt like you don't listen to them, was what it said in the overview. Did you read that, and what was your reaction to reading that?
I heard it. I didn't read the whole thing. I heard it. I'm aware of that. Obviously, those things aren't, you don't like to hear those things.
But could this just be a few disgruntled players? Could this just be a myth? Could Josh McDaniels be getting along with everybody just fine? Only time will tell. But we know that Derek Carr and the Raiders are planning to get along just fine, and it really seems like the Raiders and Derek Carr are going to end on good terms and put everything in the past and perhaps maybe even connect in the future. Mark Davis today at the NFL owners meeting, according to the Las Vegas Review-Journal, apologized to Derek Carr for not getting it done. He said that's what he did. Quote, "I apologize to him for not getting it done." And he was not in the mood to point fingers. Davis said, "I'll take the responsibility because the buck stops here. It's up to me to get it right." And he's also adding that Josh McDaniels and Dave Ziegler, when they came in last year, even though they tried to get to the roster, they really couldn't get their hands on these guys and understand who they are. And so according to Davis, they misjudged evaluating the roster, and they did the best they could with the limited time they had. But these comments do come after Derek Carr made some comments on the Harvester Sports podcast that was dropped today. He talked about how there are some things that he could say and that he's talked to his family about behind closed doors, but he's taken the high road.
All the stories I would tell you guys and the things that you guys know that a lot of people don't know and all that kind of stuff. Like, what's it going to help us if we start firing those shots? What's that going to do? It's not going to do anything for me. Okay. It was harder for y'all. It was harder for my family. It was harder for, I'm putting out fires. Like, y'all, I'm not freaking out. You don't got to freak out.
So he talked about other people getting mad for him and getting mad on his behalf, but he's actually having to calm everybody else down. Hey, could have used him to calm me down last year. Should I say that? But he's clearly admitting that there was something going on. So even though Derek Carr's trying to be nice and trying to think the best of the Raiders and Josh McDaniels and trying to chill everyone out and say, hey, you know what? It didn't work out. Oh, well, but I'm not going to blame others. I'm not going to do this and that. Still, clearly, we know something did go on. But Derek Carr also talked about meeting up and seeing Mark Davis at Darren Waller's wedding. And isn't that funny? Mark Davis was at Darren Waller's wedding. Derek Carr was at Darren Waller's wedding, but Josh McDaniels was not.
To Mr. Davis at Waller's wedding. It was the first time we talked since everything. He walked out, shook my hand, and it was like the biggest thank you he could have ever given me, you know, like.
Wow, so Mark Davis must be the life of the party if he's invited to the wedding and not Josh McDaniels. But you hear Derek Carr saying that he appreciated Mark Davis thanking him for everything he's done over the past few years.
He said, man, he's like, you know, over my, you know, years, there's things I wish I did better, and, you know, this. And I said, yeah, me too, of course, you know.
And even he himself admitting that he could have done better, because I know everybody likes to blame Derek Carr for the lack of wins. Mark Davis also has a lack of wins since he took over in 2011. But I feel like when you look at these two things, Derek Carr's comments today coupled with Mark Davis's response and comments also, it shows that these people are trying to come together. And you had Derek Carr even talk about the fact that he's willing to help out the Raiders in the future once he's done doing his thing with the Saints.
When I'm going to go play somewhere else. But when that's done, of course I'm going to come back and help you and help the organization.
Now, maybe this means Derek Carr would like to retire a Raider. I mean, he has spent 9 freaking years with the Raiders. He holds all the passing records with the Raiders right now, just because he's been there for so long and has been so consistent. Maybe that's what he means, retiring with the Raiders. Or, you know, the Saints contract is just a 2-year deal. If things don't go well with Josh McDaniels or Jimmy Garoppolo, who's to say that Derek Carr doesn't come back with the Raiders one day? Who's to say that's out of the picture, right?
Never coming back.
I think he could come back. My wife does not believe Derek Carr could come back, but I actually think there is a chance that he could still come back, especially if he, you know, has his time with the Saints. Raiders need a quarterback. Who knows? There's only a 3-year deal with the Saints. I think it's possible. And maybe Derek Carr warming up to the Raiders is to help facilitate a trade, right? Maybe this could help the Raiders maybe send Hunter Renfrow over to the Saints if that's something that Derek Carr wants. We know he's recruited a lot of former Raiders there, Jonathan Abram, Brian Edwards. Maybe he's trying to recruit Hunter Renfrow, and that's why maybe he's playing nice with the Raiders right now. Either way, we were rocking with the Raiders here. We're going to see what Jimmy Garoppolo can do, and Josh McDaniels has had his hands all over the roster for 2 off seasons right now, so we'll see what he can do, and I expect the Raiders to improve based off what they did last year. But if you do want to keep up with Derek Carr and the Saints and the rest of the broader NFL, check out my NFL channel, WiFiWillie NFL, where we post content just about the NFL outside of the Raiders. But we'll keep you up to date on the Raiders here, man. Check out some of these other videos that you may have missed. Peace out, everybody, and I hope you have a good one.